In the crowded cafeteria, arrogance collides with quiet dignity. A scholarship student stands in line, unnoticed until a cruel insult cuts through the noise. The bully's entitlement escalates, but her calm, steady presence shifts the air. 1. Symbolic action ignites the room, and a single powerful line plants the seed of coming reckoning. We don't want your kind sitting here. Move. The voice sliced through the cafeteria like a knife, silencing forks against trays and laughter, bouncing off tiled walls. Heads turned. Dozens of students froze mid-bite, half-chewed pizza and soggy fries suddenly forgotten. The cafeteria itself was a kingdom of hierarchy-long polished tables reserved by invisible rules. The elite kids at the center like royalty, and everyone else orbiting on the fringes. At the very top sat Ashley Monroe, her golden hair spilling like sunlight, designer shoes propped on the seat opposite her as though it belonged to no one else. She was the daughter of one of the town's wealthiest families, and she wore that. Power like a crown sharpened to cut. Across from her stood Maya Carter, a new transfer student on scholarship. She clutched her tray beans, cornbread, and an apple food balanced with the nervous energy of someone who didn't want to be seen, but couldn't disappear. The cafeteria's chatter had dimmed, but she kept her head straight, refusing to shrink. Ashley tilted her chin. I said move. You don't sit here. Not with us. The smirk on Ashley's lips wasn't just cruelty, it was entitlement. She had ruled this lunchroom for years with a smile that could turn into venom in a heartbeat. Behind her, two friends snickered, whispering into their hands like co-conspirators in a crime. Maya's eyes lifted slowly, steady and calm, her dark curls framing a face that refused to flinch. She didn't answer, didn't apologize, didn't even look down at her food. Instead, she set her tray on the table with quiet finality, the sound echoing louder than Ashley's voice. That was the symbolic action. A simple placing of a tray butt. In this cafeteria, it was a declaration. Ashley's smirk faltered for the briefest second before returning with sharpened teeth. She leaned forward, hissing low enough for the front row of onlookers to catch. This isn't your world. Go back to where you belong. Gasps fluttered across the cafeteria. Some students looked away, ashamed but silent. Others leaned in. Hungry for the drama. Maya finally spoke, her voice steady but cutting. Where I belong? She let the words breathe, her gaze sweeping the room. I belong exactly where you don't want me to be. Her words didn't shout, they struck. Like the precise sound of a bell, it silenced even the giggles. A ripple moved across the cafeteria as if the air itself had shifted. Ashley blinked, her arrogance colliding with the wall of Maya's calm defiance. But before another insult could leave her lips, Maya reached into her backpack, pulling something that caught the room off guard, a folded black belt, neatly tucked inside a worn cloth wrap. She didn't say what it was. She didn't have to. Sight alone was enough to spark whispers. Ashley stiffened. For the first time, she wasn't in control. Maya slid the black belt back into her bag, her tray untouched on the table. Then she looked directly at Ashley and delivered her final line. You'll remember me the day this room goes silent. The bell rang for the next class, but no one moved. The cliffhanger hung heavy, every student frozen in the sense that something had just begun, and no one, not even Ashley Monroe, knew how it would end out. By the time the lunch bell faded, the fade story had already outrun Maya. Students carried it like wildfire down the crowded hallways, their voices low but urgent, their glances sharp and curious. She put a belt on the table. No, she threatened to fight Ashley. Are you kidding? She's like a ninja or something. I heard her dad's in prison and she's dangerous. Every retelling bent the truth further from what had actually happened. What was only a tray set on a table and a folded belt slipped from a bag had already become myth by the time Maya reached her locker. She could feel the stares. Dozens of eyes trailed her steps, some wide with fear, others glittering with fascination. Still, she moved calmly, each motion deliberate, as if she hadn't heard a word. Ashley, meanwhile, marched down the opposite hallway, her heels clicking like a drumbeat announcing royalty. But for the first time, her power faltered. Her friends flanked her, whispering reassurances that rang hollow. You totally owned her. She'll back off. She's just weird, ignore her. but Ashley heard the tone around them. Students who used to smile at her now whispered when she passed. Instead of laughter, there were murmurs, and instead of awe, there was doubt. She slammed her locker shut, the echo sharp and angry. "No one makes me look stupid," she spat under her breath. No one. In the classroom, Maya sat near the back, her books neatly stacked, her pen poised. The whispers followed her inside, but she didn't look up. Instead, she focused on the chalkboard, letting the quiet dignity of her stillness shield her. The teacher's voice droned through equations and examples, but the tension in the room was undeniable. Students stole glances at Maya like she carried a secret too heavy for the rest of them to bear. Ashley, seated 2 rows ahead, pretended to take notes but couldn't resist turning halfway in her chair. Her icy gaze darting toward Maya, she waited for even the smallest flinch, the tiniest crack in Maya's armor. But none came. Instead, Maya's calm became its own weapon. Every still breath, every steady stroke of her pen seemed to mock Ashley louder than words ever could. After class, as students spilled into the hall, a boy with messy hair and curious eyes lingered near Maya. His name was Jordan, a quiet observer, the kind who blended into walls. "Hey," he murmured, almost too softly. "What you did, that was—" He trailed off, searching for the right word. "Different." Maya glanced at him, her face unreadable. It was necessary. Jordan nodded, unsure whether he was more impressed or unsettled. Still, he walked with her down the hall, a silent signal that someone, at least, was willing to stand near her. Ashley saw it from across the hallway. The sight of Maya not walking alone tightened her chest, fury rising like bile. She leaned toward her friends. "She thinks she can take my place. Watch me put her back where she belongs." But as she said it, even her closest allies didn't laugh the way they usually did. Their silence stung more than any insult Maya had delivered. Maya, unaware of the exact words, felt the eyes burning from behind. She didn't quicken her pace. She didn't turn. She simply adjusted the strap of her backpack, the black belt still folded neatly inside. And in that subtle movement, the hallway itself seemed to understand this wasn't over. It had only just begun. By Friday, the whispers had turned into a drumbeat. The cafeteria incident was no longer just a story, it was a storm. Every corner of the school buzzed with it. Every glance carried an unspoken question. Who really is Maya Carter? Ashley had had enough. Her reign was being tested, and she wasn't about to let a scholarship girl unravel her crown. "We're going to end this," she told her friends as they leaned against the lockers, pretending to scroll their phones. "Today, lunchtime, everyone. We'll see who she really is." Her voice dripped with certainty, but beneath it, a tremor of fear pulsed. Still, her friends nodded, relieved to follow rather than lead. When the lunch bell rang, the cafeteria became an arena. Word had spread, carried through notes passed in class and whispers in bathrooms. By the time Maya walked through the doors, every table was buzzing, every set of eyes waiting. Ashley was already there, her throne of popularity intact in the center of the room. She leaned back in her chair, tray untouched, smirk sharp as glass. Well, Ashley's voice rang out, slicing through the chatter. "If it isn't the girl who thinks a belt makes her special." The cafeteria fell silent again. Even the lunch ladies paused behind the counter, sensing the electricity in the air. Maya's steps didn't falter. She carried her tray rice, chicken, a carton of milk as if no one watched. She set it down at the same table she had chosen days before, across from Ashley. The echo of the tray hitting the surface was once again louder than Ashley's words. Ashley's smirk twisted. "Oh, sitting again? Cute. Tell me, did they teach you to fight at the shelter, or was that just a hobby before you got your charity ticket here?" Gasps rippled. The cruelty was sharp, deliberate. Some students looked away, ashamed. Others leaned in closer. Maya lifted her eyes slowly. Her voice was calm, each word precise. "You confuse cruelty with strength. That's why you're scared." Ashley's face flushed red, though she laughed as if untouched. "Scared? Of you? Don't flatter yourself." Her hand shot forward suddenly, slapping Maya's apple off the tray. It rolled across the table, clattering onto the floor. A symbolic gesture, the Queen flexing her power. Maya didn't move at first. She let the silence stretch until the room itself seemed to hold its breath. Then, deliberately, she bent down, picked up the apple, and wiped it clean on her sleeve. She set it back on her tray, unbroken, unbowed. Cafeteria erupted with whispers. Ashley's smile faltered. Maya's gaze held hers, unflinching. You don't scare me. Not today. Not ever. For a split second, it was Ashley who looked away first. That was when Jordan, sitting a few tables back, muttered under his breath, loud enough for others to hear, "She's stronger than all of you." The words weren't meant to carry, but they did. Students who once sat in Ashley's shadow felt the balance shift, the weight of unspoken truths pressing heavier than before. Ashley forced a laugh, trying to mask the sting. You're all pathetic. She's nothing. Watch she break. But as Maya calmly bit into her apple, the sound sharpened the quiet. It was clear to everyone. She wasn't breaking. She was waiting, and the room knew. Something bigger was coming. Ashley Monroe had never known what it felt like to lose control. From the first day of freshman year, she had ruled the school with a smile that could charm teachers and a smirk that could break classmates. People didn't challenge her. They followed, laughed, and obeyed. Her family name carried weight. Her designer clothes drew envy, and her flawless confidence held the room like gravity itself. But now, something was cracking. In the cafeteria, Maya's silence had spoken louder than Ashley's insults. In the hallways, students no longer parted for Ashley, they lingered, whispering as she passed. For the first time, Ashley felt their eyes not with admiration, but with judgment. At her locker, she overheard two sophomores whispering, "Did you see how she picked up that apple?" Like she didn't even care what Ashley did. That was powerful. Ashley slammed her locker shut, making them jump. But instead of apologizing, they simply walked away, their eyes darting back to Maya, not her. Her friends noticed too. "Don't worry," one of them muttered as they huddled in the girls' bathroom. "They'll forget. People always forget." But even her friend's voice lacked conviction. Ashley glared at her reflection in the mirror. Perfect hair, flawless eyeliner, lips curved into a practiced sneer. Yet, for the first time, she doubted whether the reflection matched the truth. Meanwhile, Maya moved through the day as if untouched. She walked to class with Jordan sometimes trailing beside her, and though she rarely spoke more than a few words, her presence carried weight. Teachers noticed the shift too. A math teacher paused mid-lecture when Ashley whispered too loudly, his eyes flickering with irritation toward Ashley, not Maya. It stung. That afternoon, Ashley hatched a plan. "She's calm now," she whispered to her friends. "But we'll push her. We'll humiliate her in front of everyone. The belt won't save her then." The stage was set during gym class. Basketball day. Teams split, the echo of squeaking shoes and bouncing balls filling the court. Ashley made sure she and Maya ended up on opposing teams. Her eyes never left Maya as the game began. It started small. A shove here, an elbow there. At first, it looked like nothing more than rough play. But each time, Ashley pushed harder, daring Maya to react. Students on the sidelines began to notice, whispers spreading again. Finally, Ashley went too far. When Maya caught the ball, Ashley slammed into her shoulder with unnecessary force. The ball slipped, rolling across the court as Maya stumbled but didn't fall. Gasps echoed. Ashley smirked, waiting for retaliation, for proof that Maya was dangerous. Unstable, everything she wanted people to believe, but Maya only straightened, brushing her shoulder as though shaking off dust. Her eyes met Ashley's, calm and steady, not anger but something sharper. "You're trying too hard," Maya said quietly, her words slipping between the echoes of bouncing balls. The gym went still. Even the coach glanced up, sensing the tension. Ashley's smirk faltered. The spotlight she had turned on Maya now illuminated her instead, the desperation in her movements, the cracks in her confidence. By the time the whistle blew, it wasn't Maya who looked rattled. It was Ashley, and everyone saw it. By Monday morning, the school was no longer the same. The gym incident had spread through every classroom, every hallway. Students repeated the words like scripture. "You're trying too hard." They said it with awe, with laughter, with something dangerously close to respect. Ashley's carefully crafted reputation. The untouchable queen was starting to wobble on its pedestal. She stormed into the cafeteria, chin high, eyes sharp, determined to reclaim her crown. But even as she strutted past the tables, she could hear the whispers trailing behind her like shadows. She didn't even fight back. Did you see Ashley's face, though? Maybe Maya's stronger without even trying. The words burned out at her usual table. Ashley slammed her tray down, the sound echoing like a gunshot. Her friends laughed nervously, picking at their food, but Ashley's smile was thin and brittle. Across the room, Maya sat quietly, her tray neat, her posture steady. She ate slowly, deliberately, as though she didn't hear the buzz around her. But she did. She felt every pair of eyes, every shifting loyalty. She understood something Ashley didn't. Silence was power when wielded with purpose. Jordan noticed too. He slid into the seat across from her, glancing nervously toward Ashley's table. "You know, they're waiting," he said softly. "For?" "You to crack. For you to fight." Maya looked up, her gaze calm. "That's what she wants." "But fighting isn't always throwing punches," Jordan frowned, leaning closer. "Then what is it?" Maya's lips curved into the faintest smile. "It's making them see who she really is." Jordan blinked, the weight of her words settling in. He nodded slowly, a silent promise forming between them. Across the cafeteria, Ashley watched the exchange. The sight of Maya not only calm but surrounded Jordan sitting with her, a few curious students glancing her way, was unbearable. She gritted her teeth, nails digging into her palm. "She's not winning," Ashley muttered, more to herself than her friends. "She's manipulating them," but deep inside she knew the truth. She was the one unraveling. Later that afternoon, during history class, the teacher called on Maya to read aloud. Her voice was steady, warm, carrying effortlessly through the code room. Students leaned in, listening with unusual focus. Even the teacher nodded approvingly. Ashley, sitting 3 rows back, clenched her jaw. She had always been the center of attention, the one teachers praised, the one students admired. Now, with every calm word Maya spoke, Ashley felt herself shrinking dot after class. Jordan lingered again, this time with more confidence. "You're different," he said. "You don't play their game. That's why you're winning." Maya met his gaze, her expression softening for the first time. "It's not about winning. It's about surviving with dignity." But the truth was dignity was transforming into something else, something sharper dot by the end of the day. Whispers weren't just whispers anymore. They were choices. Students began to split, some clinging to Ashley's fading power, others quietly drifting toward Maya's silent strength. The storm wasn't loud yet, but everyone could feel it building. The tension had reached a fever pitch. By Wednesday, the entire school seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the next move. Ashley could feel it in the way people looked at her, not with admiration anymore, but with curiosity, even doubt. She couldn't allow it. Not when her name had always meant control. So she devised a plan. It was simple, cruel, and guaranteed to humiliate Maya in front of everyone. She whispered it to her friends between classes, their nervous giggles betraying both excitement and unease. "Today at lunch," Ashley said, her eyes glittering, "we make her snap." When the lunch bell rang, Ashley and her crew were ready. They had claimed the center table, as always, but this time the entire cafeteria was tuned to their stage. The air buzzed with anticipation. Maya entered quietly, her tray steady in her hands. She didn't need to look up to know the eyes were on her. She could feel their weight pressing down. Ashley's smirk widened. "Hey, charity case," she called out loudly enough for the whole room to hear. "Show us what's in your backpack." "Bet it's not books." Laughter erupted, forced and uneasy. Maya paused, her gaze flicking toward Ashley. She said nothing, but her silence only made the room lean closer. Ashley pressed on, her voice sharper. "Come on, what's in there? More belts? Or maybe your family packed you some. Oh wait, never mind." The cruelty stung, sharp and intentional. A few students gasped, others looked away, ashamed. Jordan, sitting near the back, muttered angrily, "Enough." But Maya raised a hand, quieting him before he could rise. Then, slowly, deliberately, she walked to Ashley's table. The cafeteria fell silent. Maya set her tray down and unzipped her backpack. Gasps rippled through the room. Ashley leaned forward, triumphant, certain she'd forced the explosion she wanted, but Maya didn't pull out weapons or anything dramatic. Instead, she lifted out a single book, a battered, dog-eared volume of The Art of Peace. Its spine was cracked, its pages worn from years of use. She laid it gently on the table in front of Ashley. "This," Maya said, her voice steady, "is what's in my bag. Knowledge, discipline, strength you can't understand." The words hung in the air, heavier than any scream could have been. Ashley blinked, thrown off balance. "That's it? A book?" But the room had already shifted. Students whispered, their awe unmistakable. The laughter had stopped, replaced by something else. Respect. Maya's eyes locked with Ashley's. "You keep trying to break me, but you can't break what doesn't bend." Ashley's smile faltered. For the first time, her arrogance didn't land. Jordan's voice carried across the room, stronger this time. "She's braver than all of us, and you know it." The cafeteria erupted not with laughter, not with chaos, but with murmurs of agreement. Heads nodded. Eyes turned toward Maya with something Ashley could no longer command: admiration. Ashley sat frozen, her hands clenched, her crown slipping further with every heartbeat. Maya picked up her tray, slid the book back into her backpack, and walked calmly to her table. The silence she left behind was deafening. Ashley had wanted to break her. Instead, she had broken the illusion of her own power. By Thursday morning, Ashley Monroe felt the weight of eyes on her wherever she went. Once, those eyes had sparkled with admiration, envy, or longing for her approval. Now they burned with something different: curiosity, judgment, whispers that slipped just loud enough for her to hear. She didn't even react. "Did you see that book? She's smarter than Ashley." "Maybe Ashley's not as strong as she thinks." Ashley's teeth clenched each time the words pierced her ears. She walked faster, heels clicking against the tiled floor, her backpack swinging sharply as though the sound could drown the whispers. But no matter how fast she walked, the rumors followed her like shadows she couldn't outrun. Her friends tried to console her, but their voices carried cracks of doubt. "You still run this school," one said. "They'll forget," another added weakly. Ashley didn't believe them, not anymore. She saw the way her so-called loyal followers glanced toward Maya when they thought she wasn't looking. Saw the hesitation in their laughter, the way silence lingered when Maya walked past. It was happening. The crown was slipping, and Maya wasn't even trying to take it. That morning, the cafeteria buzzed more than ever. Maya entered quietly, her calm presence filling the room with a different kind of gravity. Jordan walked beside her now, no longer hesitant but proud to be seen at her side. A few other students nodded at her as she passed, tentative but genuine. She sat at her usual spot, her tray set down with quiet grace. She didn't need to raise her voice. She didn't need to demand attention. It came to her anyway. Ashley watched from across the room, fury twisting in her stomach. She couldn't stand it, the way Maya carried herself, the way she drew respect without even asking for it. "She thinks she's a queen," Ashley hissed to her friends. "But she's just a scholarship kid who doesn't belong here." Her voice trembled with anger, but deep down, she knew she wasn't convincing anyone, not even herself. The breaking point came later that day in the hallway. Students gathered between classes, lockers slamming shut, conversations buzzing. Ashley spotted Maya walking calmly, Jordan trailing at her side, and something inside Ashley snapped. She stepped forward, blocking Maya's path. "Enough of your little act," Ashley spat, her voice sharp, echoing against the walls. "You think you're better than me? That you can just stroll in here and take over?" The hallway fell silent. Students froze, forming a circle around them, eager for the confrontation. Maya stood still, her backpack slung over one shoulder. Her eyes met Ashley's, not with anger, not with fear, but with steady, unshaken calm. "I never asked for your crown," Maya said softly. "You're the one afraid I'll take it." The words struck like lightning. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Ashley's face flushed crimson. "Afraid? Of you? Don't make me laugh." You're nothing. You don't even belong here. Maya tilted. Her head, her expression thoughtful. If I don't belong, why does my presence shake you so much? The crowd shifted, whispers rippling louder now. Some students nodded subtly, their eyes darting between the two girls. Ashley's chest tightened. She could feel the walls closing in, the truth pressing down like a weight she couldn't escape. Her whole identity built on power, control. Perfection was cracking in front of everyone. You think you're strong, Ashley snapped, her voice cracking. But all you've done is stand there and look at me like you're better. Maya's gaze didn't waver. Strength isn't making people afraid of you. It's standing tall when someone tries to break you. For the first time, Ashley couldn't find a retort. The hallway silence was deafening. Jordan's voice broke through. Calm but firm. She's shown us more strength in a week than you have in years. The crowd murmured agreement. Ashley's friends glanced at each other nervously, unsure whether to defend her or retreat. Ashley's throat tightened, tears stinging her eyes not from sadness, but from rage at losing control. You don't know anything about me, she hissed, her voice trembling. You don't know what it's like, what I have to be. The words slipped out before she could stop them. For a brief moment, the mask cracked. Students leaned in, sensing something raw beneath her practiced arrogance. Maya's expression softened just slightly. Then stop pretending. Stop hiding behind cruelty. It's not strength, it's fear. Ashley froze. The words hit too close, cutting deeper than she wanted anyone to see. The bell rang, but no one moved. The confrontation hung in the air, unfinished, raw. Maya stepped aside, giving Ashley space to walk past. But instead of feeling victorious, Ashley felt small, exposed under the weight of her own unraveling image. The students didn't cheer, they didn't laugh. They simply watched, their silence speaking louder than any noise. Ashley walked away quickly, her eyes burning, her crown slipping further with each step. Maya didn't chase her. She didn't need to. The truth had already been spoken. Ashley plans. One final attempt to humiliate Maya at the school assembly, desperate to cling to her fading power. But in front of the whole school, Maya's calm dignity and her unexpected revelation turned the stage into Ashley's undoing. Full chapter content. The morning of the assembly felt different. Ashley Monroe stared at her reflection for too long, adjusting and readjusting her makeup, curling the same strand of hair until it almost burned. She told herself this was just another stage, another audience. She had commanded crowds before. But this time, her chest tightened like a vice. Her eyes, no matter how much mascara framed them, showed something she couldn't cover: fear. Her power was slipping. The whispers in the halls told her so. The way people looked past her told her so. Worst of all, the fact that Maya Johnson, the quiet scholarship girl, had managed to silence her without raising a hand. That told her more than anything. No. Today she would remind them who she was. The assembly would be her stage. The auditorium was alive with chatter, sneakers squeaking on the polished floor, the air buzzing with youthful energy. Teachers lined the sides, clipboards and polite smiles masking their exhaustion. Students shuffled into rows, jostling for seats, laughter bouncing off the walls. Maya sat near the middle, quiet as always, her backpack placed neatly at her feet. She blended into the sea of students, yet somehow her presence pulled eyes. She wasn't trying to be seen, but she was. Jordan sat beside her, whispering something that made her smile faintly. That small curve of her lips sent another ripple through the room. Ashley noticed it instantly. She walked in late on purpose, heels clacking sharply, hair shimmering under the bright lights. For years this entrance had been enough to silence the crowd. But today, the room didn't hush. Conversations continued. Whispers floated. A few heads turned her way, but just as many tilted toward Maya. Ashley's jaw tightened. When the principal finished her announcements and invited students up for messages or performances, Ashley seized her chance. She rose gracefully, striding to the stage like she owned it. The microphone's cold metal was familiar in her hands, and for a moment, confidence surged back into her veins. "Good morning, everyone," she began, her voice sweet but edged. "I just wanted to remind us all how important it is to keep our school's traditions alive. to make sure we don't let just anyone change what makes this place special. The crowd shifted. Students exchanged looks. Some frowned. Others pretended to stay neutral. Ashley pressed on, louder now, more desperate. We've worked hard to build our reputation, to keep our standards. And we can't let outsiders, people who don't really belong here, think they can just walk in and take over. Her words were polished, but the venom beneath them was naked. Everyone knew who she meant. Maya sat still, hands folded in her lap, gaze calm. Only the faint tightening of her fingers on her backpack strap betrayed that she'd heard. Ashley scanned the room, waiting for the applause, the smirks, the loyalty she'd always commanded. But the silence was suffocating. And then Jordan's voice cut through, clear and steady. Funny. I thought strength was about lifting others up, not tearing them down. The ripple was instant. Heads turned, whispers spread like fire. Ashley's throat went dry. Jordan, the one person she thought too timid to oppose her, had stood. She forced a laugh, brittle as glass. Some people just don't understand what it means to be part of this community. And then Maya stood. The room stilled. She didn't rush. She didn't storm. She simply rose, a quiet presence that drew every gaze. Maya didn't walk to the stage. She didn't need to. She looked directly at Ashley, her voice calm but strong. You keep saying I don't belong, she said. But I never tried to take your place. I've only ever tried to stand in mine. The words landed heavy. The silence after was deeper than before, as though the entire school held its breath. Slowly, Maya bent to her backpack. The room tensed. Even Ashley froze, eyes widening as though expecting some stunt, some weapon. But Maya pulled out nothing threatening. It was a notebook. Worn, edges bent, pages bulging with ink. She held it to her chest like something sacred. This is what I carry, she said softly, but the quiet in the room amplified her voice. My father's words, my mother's letters, my own thoughts. Every time someone tried to make me feel small, I wrote. Every time I wanted to disappear, I wrote. This is my strength, not fists, not insults, but remembering who I am when the world forgets. Her voice trembled once, but steadied. This is why you can't break me. Because I don't need your crown. I already know who I am. The silence was electric. Students leaned forward, wide-eyed. Teachers glanced at each other, unsure whether to intervene or let history unfold. Ashley's face drained of color. For years, she had been the one controlling narratives, twisting words to her favor. But here was Maya, exposing truth with nothing more than calm honesty, and the entire room felt it. Ashley's grip on the microphone faltered. The stage lights burned hotter, unforgiving. Her mouth opened, but no sound came. Her carefully crafted armor of words had finally failed her. The microphone slipped from her hand. The clang as it hit the stage floor echoed like a verdict. Gasps rippled. Whispers surged louder. Ashley turned, heels hammering against the wood as she stormed off stage. But her retreat wasn't graceful, it was frantic. The queen wasn't. Striding, she was fleeing. Maya remained standing, notebook pressed against her heart. She didn't raise her fist. She didn't smirk. She simply stood, her dignity radiating stronger than any spotlight. And in that silence, deeper, heavier, more powerful than cheers, everything changed. Ashley Monroe was no longer the center. Maya was, not because she sought it, not because she fought for it, but because she had shown them what true strength looked like. Ashley Monroe had never feared a Monday morning before, but this time, as she stood in front of her mirror, she didn't recognize the girl staring back. The crown of confidence she once wore so easily had slipped. Mascara couldn't hide the swelling under her eyes from sleepless nights, nor could lip gloss erase the quiver at the corners of her mouth. Her phone buzzed on the vanity. A new message lit up the screen, another meme of her dropping the microphone. At the assembly, this one edited with circus music. Ashley grabbed the phone and hurled it onto her bed, her breathing shallow. The school she once ruled now mocked her. The hallway was no kinder. As she stepped inside, the usual hush that followed her entrance was gone. Instead, a low wave of whispers rippled through lockers and doorways. A boy muttered, "Guess the queen's crown slipped," loud enough for others to laugh. Ashley's fists clenched. nails digging crescents into her palms. She told herself she didn't care. But every snicker pierced deeper. Her friends trailed behind her, but the air between them felt thinner now. They weren't orbiting her anymore. They were drifting. And there, in the middle of the hall, was Maya, calm, steady, backpack slung over one shoulder, notebook in hand. She didn't strut or command attention, yet students turned to look at her. Anyway, some nodded, some smiled. A boy even stepped aside to let her pass, like she carried an invisible authority. Ashley's stomach churned. She quickened her pace, forcing her chin higher, pretending not to notice the shift she couldn't. Stop. That afternoon, Ashley cornered Jordan near the science lab. Her voice was sugar-laced with venom. You really think she's special? She sneered. She's just a charity case. She's using you, using all of you. Jordan's expression didn't flinch. His eyes were clear, sharper than she had ever seen them. No, he said simply. For the first time, I see who's been using us. And it wasn't her. His words sliced through her, leaving her speechless. She tried again the next day, planting rumors like seeds. Maya had cheated on exams. Maya's scholarship was fake. Maya's family wasn't what they claimed. She whispered in bathrooms, scribbled notes, spread poison in voices she thought were loyal. But the rumors didn't bloom. Students rolled their eyes, some even defended Maya outright. Teachers ignored the chatter. The soil of fear were Ashley's. Lies once thrived had gone dry. Every attempt backfired, exposing her desperation. By Friday, the cafeteria felt like a stage Ashley had lost control of. The air buzzed with chatter, trays clattering, laughter echoing off tile. Ashley entered with her tray balanced perfectly, her posture rigid, but nobody fell silent. Nobody even paused. She sat at her usual table, her friends beside her out of habit rather than devotion. Their conversations felt forced, eyes flicking. Nervously toward Maya's table across the room, Maya sat with Jordan and a few others, her notebook open as if even here she was more interested in writing than ruling. And yet, she ruled without trying. A group of students leaned in to talk to her. She listened. She smiled softly. And with each smile, Ashley felt her grip slipping further. Ashley's fork scraped against her tray, her food untouched. The laughter around her blurred into a roar inside her skull. She could see lips moving, hear fragments of conversation, but every sound twisted into one message: you've lost. Her eyes snapped back to Maya just in time to see Kayla, her own friend, rise from their table. Ashley's heart lurched. Where? Are you going? Kayla hesitated, tray in hand. I'll be right back, she murmured. But her direction betrayed her. Ashley watched in frozen disbelief as Kayla crossed the cafeteria and sat down next to Maya. Jordan greeted her. The others shifted to make space. Maya looked up, surprised but welcoming. Kayla smiled, tentative but real. The sound of Kayla's laughter at Maya's table hit Ashley like a slap. Her breath quickened. Her grip on her fork tightened until her knuckles whitened. Her friends pretended not to notice, their eyes fixed on their food, but the truth was clear. The first defection had begun. Ashley's crown wasn't slipping anymore. It was shattering. That night, Ashley sat in her bedroom surrounded by silence. No buzzing phone, no plans to scheme, no texts of loyalty. Just silence. She turned toward her mirror. The girl staring back wasn't a queen. She wasn't admired. She wasn't feared. She was just a girl, stripped of her illusions, trembling under the weight of emptiness. Tears blurred her vision, sliding hot and bitter down her cheeks. She hated them. She hated Maya for standing tall without lifting a hand. She hated Jordan for seeing through her. She hated Kayla for betraying her. But more than all of them, she hated herself because she couldn't escape the truth staring. Back Ashley Monroe was no longer the ruler of this school. She was just another name in the halls, and everyone knew it. Meanwhile, Maya's weekend filled with a quiet unease. She hadn't asked for any of this, the attention, the respect, the weight of expectation. In her notebook, she scrawled the words, I didn't want to lead. I only wanted to survive. Why are they all looking at me like I'm more than I am? But every time she walked into school, students smiled at her. Teachers nodded. Strangers struck up conversations. Her calm had become a mirror in which others saw their own courage. She didn't know what to do with it. She only knew one thing. She couldn't back down now. The cracks in Ashley's crown weren't just visible. They were permanent. And Maya's silence was no longer just survival. It was revolution. The tension in the cafeteria was so thick it could have been carved out of the air. It was Monday again, and though trays clattered and laughter hummed, everyone seemed to know something was about to happen. The center of the storm hadn't yet struck, but the atmosphere vibrated with the threat. Ashley stood by the doorway, frozen for a heartbeat, her tray untouched in her hands. She had spent the entire weekend planning this moment, her last chance, her final strike. If she could just tear Maya down in public, everything might return to the way it was. The crown would return to its rightful place. At least, that's what she told herself. She marched toward Maya's table, her heels clicking against the tile like drumbeats of war. Whispers followed her path. The crowd sensed it too. The queen had returned for her last stand. Maya looked up from her notebook as Ashley stopped in front of her. Calm as ever. No flinch, no bowing of the head. Just those steady, dark eyes that seemed to see more than they revealed. Ashley's voice rang out, sharp and trembling. "You think you're better than me?" The cafeteria quieted, forks pausing. Mid-air. Maya closed her notebook gently. "No," she said. Her tone was steady, almost too soft for the room. "I never thought that." The simplicity of her answer unnerved Ashley. She slammed her tray onto the table, sending a plastic cup tumbling. Milk spilled, dripping over the edges like the unraveling of her composure. "Then stop pretending," Ashley snapped. "Stop acting like you belong here. You're nothing but a scholarship kid. You don't have the money, the name." Her words faltered, because in that silence, the cafeteria itself betrayed her. No one laughed. No one clapped. No one cheered her on. Dozens of eyes stared back at her, cold and unamused. She swallowed, suddenly aware of the tremor in her hands. Maya rose slowly to her feet. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. "You're right," Maya said quietly. "I don't have the money. I don't have a family name carved on the school wall. What I do have is the truth." The room leaned closer. "The truth," she continued, "is that none of us deserve to be treated like dirt just because of where we come from, or the color of our skin, or how we talk, or what we have. And maybe you thought you had power because people were too scared to fight back. But fear doesn't last forever. Respect does." Her words fell like stones in a still pond, rippling outward. A murmur of agreement swept through the room. Students nodding, whispering, their faces alight with something Ashley hadn't seen in a long time: unity. Ashley's chest tightened. Her vision blurred. "No," she choked, her voice cracking. "You don't understand. This is my school, my rules. They're supposed to follow me." But the faces around her told a different story. Her followers, the same ones who once echoed her cruelty, looked away, ashamed. Kayla sat at Maya's side now, her hand resting lightly on the table, eyes burning with regret. Jordan's arm crossed over his chest, protective, unshaken. Ashley staggered back a step. Maya didn't move closer. She didn't need to. Her voice carried enough weight. "You can keep your crown, Ashley," she said softly. "I never wanted it. But don't mistake fear for respect. Because today, fear ends." The cafeteria erupted not with chaos, but with applause. A sound so raw and overwhelming it made the walls tremble. Students rose from their seats, clapping, whistling, some even pounding their trays in rhythm. Ashley's ears rang. Her heart pounded against her ribs like a trapped bird. She searched desperately for one face, one pair of eyes that still believed in her. But there were none. Her kingdom had dissolved before her eyes. The tray she'd slammed onto the table slipped from her grip and crashed to the floor, milk splattering across her shoes. She didn't even flinch. She just turned and fled, her heels slipping against the tiles, the sound of applause chasing her down the hall like a tidal wave. The aftermath was quiet but undeniable. Maya didn't declare herself leader. She didn't give orders or demand anything. But the shift had happened. Students who had once stayed silent now spoke up for each other. Jokes at others' expense faded into awkward silence. Fear was replaced by a cautious but growing respect, and Maya She returned to her notebook, scribbling words that felt heavier now, knowing they no longer belonged only to her dot in her private pages. She wrote, "I didn't ask for this crown, but if carrying it means others can breathe, I'll carry it anyway. Ashley." Didn't return to the cafeteria for weeks. Rumors said she sat alone in the library, her confidence shattered, her circle dissolved. Some felt pity. Others felt it was justice. But everyone knew. The girl who had once ruled through cruelty had been dethroned not by fists, not by fear, but by the quiet dignity of someone she thought powerless. The day finally came when someone, Maya, walked into the cafeteria and nobody even noticed Ashley wasn't there. That was the truest mark of change, not the applause, not the showdown, but the silence where Ashley's shadow used to linger. Maya sat with her friends, her laughter gentle, her presence steady. She wasn't a queen, and she didn't want to be, but in the hearts of the students, she had become something far greater, a reminder that dignity defeats arrogance, that silence can roar louder than cruelty, that respect lasts longer than fear, and that sometimes the most powerful crown is the one you never asked to wear. The cafeteria buzzed with new life, unaware it had just witnessed the quiet birth of a revolution. But Maya knew, and so did Ashley, because once the crown is reclaimed by truth, it never belongs to cruelty again.